There are indications that aspirants contesting for the position of Senate President from Northwest, Northeast and North Central might have shelved their ambitions. Following their plan to withdraw from the race, the battle for the office of the Senate President has now shifted to the Southeast and South-South. The main challengers from the region are Senate Chief Whip Orji Uzokalu and former Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Godswill Akpabio. Meanwhile, analysts have said that the upcoming leadership election for the 10th National Assembly will provide a perfect opportunity for the new administration and the ruling All Progressives Congress APC to demonstrate their dexterity in aligning a national interest. Well, joining us to discuss the leadership race for the 10th National Assembly is Senator-elect Ned Nwoko. It's good to have you here on Arise News. Well, we're just, getting wind of this. A lot of people have been waiting to find out what is going to happen in, the House of Rep, of course, and the House of Senate as regards the leadership. But looking at, the fact that the coalition of the members-elect of the House of Representatives and the minority parties had before declared their bid for the office of the Speaker in the 10th National Assembly. We're looking at the minority caucus that categorically stated that it was out to contest the speakership seat with the All Progressives Congress, claiming that the ruling party had lost its majority status in the 10th House after the supplementary 2023 general elections. I wonder what your reactions are to this following this latest development.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. The House of Reps will certainly decide who they want as their Speaker and Deputy Speaker. I would wish them the best of luck in making that choice. They must understand the need for them to elect a credible leadership that will put Nigeria first, put Nigerians first. I mean, for me, that is the primary concern. So it is not a matter of choice for senators or for governors or other influencers, as it were, as to who becomes the leader of, or leaders of the House of Reps. What they must focus on, will guide them, will advise them, is to strive to be independent. They must be independent in all that they do. They can't continue as business as usual. So we have been meeting, of course, with them, guiding and advising them. And I believe that at the end of the day, they will make the right choices on their leadership. Of course, with regards to the other matters that you mentioned, the possible zoning of the leadership for Senate, again, yes, we will be guided by what the party does. We're all party faithfuls. At the end of the day, we will also be looking at credible and focused leadership. We don't want to have be a rubber stamp Senate. That is not what Nigerians need at this point in time. We need a leadership for both upper and lower chambers that will be able to checkmate the executive and make sure that things are done properly for the interest of Nigerians. I think this is what is uppermost in the minds of many of our members.
Noted, Mr. Nwoko, thank you. So the current speaker has made it clear, that the APC and other leaders will decide which zone or whoever will emerge, Senate president, and that the opposition will have, no choice but to simply support. Basically, sounds like, they wouldn't have a say whatsoever. Just wondering how that statement came across to you.
Well, I don't know what statement you are referring to, but it's a wrong assumption that they could throw things at the 360 members of the House of Reps from outside and they will just accept it that way. It's not going to happen. I hope that they understand that the mood of the nation is very different from what has been happening in the preceding years. So we just have to wait and see the kind of personalities that there are. It's beginning to emerge on a daily basis, the kind of people that were elected from the various parts of the country. But I think that they don't want to be seen to have been influenced from the outside as to the choice that they make going forward.
Okay, so let's just shift our attention just very briefly to a lawmaker representing Borno South Senatorial District, Ali Ndume, who says that politicians have started buying the leadership of the yet-to-be inaugurated 10th National Assembly and even pushed for an unexplained wealth act to deal with corrupt politicians with suspicious wealth. He says if you display wealth that is not in tandem with your income, then you should be investigated and the wealth confiscated, and if it's extensive, even prosecuted. Do you think that this is something that should be implemented, or it's just a distraction as to in the phase of trying to find out who the leader of the Senate is going to be going forward?
Well, I've not met with Ndume nor spoken to him about what you're quoting that he said, but I wouldn't take it beyond Nigeria. We're in Nigeria, and a lot happens here, sadly so. So we just have to wait and see in reality what happens when we are inaugurated. I would, of course, subscribe to any law that seeks to prohibit unlawful use of money to influence the choice of leadership. It shouldn't be allowed to happen. There are many capable hands there, experienced, focused, exposed, and well-meaning Nigerians that we should encourage the National Assembly that leadership to emerge from. So it is not, as I said before, going to be business as usual, where maybe some governors or some other people would move in there with bags of money. That will not work. There are many people who are very independent-minded, very concerned about the state of things in Nigeria, that certainly want to make a difference, want to make a different mark from what has been happening hitherto. So, yes, there might be some truth in what Ndume said. I've not come across anybody. Certainly, nobody's going to come to Nwoko and offer him money to do what is wrong. That is not going to happen. And there are many more people that I know from before now that are of the same kind of approach with me, that would want the best for Nigerians in all I say and all I'm going to do. And I'm sure majority of them, speaking to them individually, they're not putting themselves first. They must put Nigeria first. And that is what I want to see. That's the kind of National Assembly that I want to see.
Noted, Mr. Nwoko. Now, there's been some clamor, for instance, as a group here, the APC stakeholders under the aegis of the support groups for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They're urging that the national leadership be zoned to the north. In the event that this is what happens, what would you say the likely implications might be?
Sorry, national leadership of what be zoned to the north?
I'm talking about the Senate presidency be zoned to the north. The group is clamoring.
Well, APC as a party will, APC certainly. Look, there are many groups and they all clamor for different things. It depends on what interests they are trying to project. At the end of the day, we're all going to have a choice to make. But I personally would want some kind of a balanced system where every part of Nigeria feels a sense of inclusion in what is happening in Nigeria. We've just come from a very difficult campaign and election period. And we must seek to make some kind of reconciliatory moves, some kind of appeasement of those parts of Nigeria that have been marginalized. Obviously, Southeast is one of them. Perhaps the top of the priority should be Southeast. So any group that is clamoring for zoning of the Senate presidency to another part of Nigeria is not being sensitive to the need for national unity that will focus the country for the great challenges ahead of us.
Okay, so if in this conversation about who emerges leader of the Senate and of the House of Representatives, it almost seems as if we don't hear much about the issue of competency and capacity. It's largely limited to zoning and religion, where the person is coming from. Is it not worrisome that we're not focused on the capacity building of the lawmakers? And I'm also curious to know who you have in mind, in particular, who you believe should vie for, these two leadership positions.
Look, for me, the most important thing is competence. Competence, capability, focus, strength of character. We need a leadership that will think of Nigeria and Nigerians, full stop. I was just talking, by the way, about the zoning, because you spoke about zoning to the north of Nigeria being clamored by a group. But otherwise, for me, the primary concern is the capacity, is the focus, is the strength of character of the people to lead. If you pick people there who are newcomers, it would be a problem. So you need experience as well. You need experience. You need capacity. There are many qualities that you need in a leadership. Those who are trusted, those who can, say no to external influences that would want to, get things done that are not for the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians. So what I would say to that is that I expect both houses to go for the best. And we know who the best people are. We know the people that are contesting for the various positions. We've known them since 1999. And, people of 1999, or the Nigerians of 1999, are not the same Nigerians of 2023. A lot has happened. So we know them by their records. We know them by their history. We know them by their dispositions. So the right choices will be made. And I am certain, almost certain, that there will be little or no influence from the outside, except, of course, with the party's zoning formulas.
Noted, Mr. Nwoko. Now, I'd just like to focus on you for a moment, based on your victory, the Delta North senatorial elections. Congratulations, by the way. I'm just wondering if you could enlighten us on your legislative agenda.
Oh, there are many. There are many. I'm concerned about a lot of things in Nigeria. I am in this because I want to serve. There are many issues, local issues, national issues. The first for me, really, is to do with insecurity. We must address it. We must dialogue with those agitators from both ends of Nigeria, whether they are ESN or IPOB or Boko Haram. We must dialogue with them. So whatever that needs to be done to set that machinery in place must be done immediately. The killings must stop. The killings must stop. The huge cost of the fights at various ends must stop. So for me, insecurity is a priority, rather security is a priority that must be addressed. Of course, the other one, which is also equally important, is the economy. A lot hasn't happened under this administration. The economy is almost in comatose, from the inflationary rates to interest rates, banking interest rates. I can't imagine, for instance, why a government wouldn't consider capping interest rates, banking lending interest rates. Why would they not think of consumers? Why would not think of Nigerians? It is a matter of fact that we're elected to represent the people. So when you are here and you know that Nigerians are not able to have access to financing, they can't borrow to buy things they need, cars or houses. You know that the banks are making huge profits to the detriment of the masses. So the government must step in and do what they do in civilized societies. And this is what I want to focus on. One of the things I want to focus on. Judiciary, of course, needs support. They need to move faster than they are moving. They need to be empowered to make sure that justice is dispensed as and when it is sought for. Of course, going back to my state, there are issues of some major national roads that needs to be done without delay, because there are serious hazards to the lives of the people and other road users. Of course, I come from an area as well where there's a lot of outcry over environmental degradation. Talking about the Ndokwa Nation, the people there have been abandoned to their fate. It shouldn't be business as usual, with gas flarings, with pollutions here and there, with oil companies just operating with impunity. All that must be checked. We need to look at, there are many bills and motions that are already being put in place, so people should expect a lot of fireworks as we get inaugurated.
Definitely expecting fireworks in the days to come. But to just, bring it back to, this leadership race for the 10th National Assembly, just reading here that you had even called for the zoning of the Senate President, of course, to the southeast, as you said. Now, the APC, having upheld the principle of rotation of key political offices between the North and the South in respect of the presidency of the Federation, are you expecting the ruling party to maintain the same modus for other major political offices vis-a-vis the Senate presidency and the Speaker of the House of Representatives and their deputies?
I expect the major parties, in fact, I expect all the parties to think of what is good for Nigeria. Zoning is something that they have started doing for years now, and this is not the time to abandon it. They know, they're all politicians, so they know what has to be done to calm the nerves in the country. I expect APC to do what is right. I also expect PDP and other parties to do similar. That will guide the members of the two chambers in going forward. I know that most people are going to be loyal to their party's decisions. So we just have to wait and see what they do. But they are not going to be insensitive to the clamors for some kind of fairness and justice in dealing with some sectors of the country, especially Southeast, as you said. It's an area that has been marginalized. We understand, everybody knows. I mean, you've seen the killing fields that has erupted in Southeast of late, and we're going to ask ourselves why. What are they fighting for? Why can't we find a way to negotiate, appease them, and get food working instead of fighting and killing each other. Just a few days ago, 5 policemen were killed in Owerri. And in most other countries, you can't just imagine how much outcry that could be for 5 policemen to be killed in one big swap. And we carry on as if nothing has happened. We just carry on as if it's normal to kill policemen. The very law enforcement agents that are meant to protect lives and properties. And of course, the killing cycle will continue until you address the issues that has led to all these senseless killings from both sides. The parties shouldn't be just thinking about politics of zoning and all that. They must think of how to use those zonings as a way of calming those nerves, of dealing with the contentious issues.
Noted, Mr. Nwoko. Just also I'm wondering at this point, of course, you've given us a peek into your legislative agenda in terms of the economy and insecurity, to mention a few. Just wondering how you plan to be a bit of a unifier, seeing all the various parties that will be represented in the 10th National Assembly. How do you plan to ensure that most of that there's not much hindrance to your own legislative agenda?
By working with others, by making them to understand. Look, all the issues that I've mentioned are issues that we all know about. It's all the issues that we all feel pains from. Of course, one of the things that I would have mentioned, I better mention it now, is about the annual floods that we have along the Benue and River Nigers, going down the Niger area. We know the consequences of those floods, and we don't just need to wait for the floods to come and devastate the entire, at least about 8 states are involved every year. Many people die, people are made homeless. We need to know how we can address this and be proactive. So it's not about just my programs, it's about what has to be done to save lives and properties. What do we as Nigerians must do to make sure that things are done differently? We don't have to wait for floods to come and we start talking about palliatives and building of tents and giving up. No. What we need to do must be done by Nigerians, whether we are in APC or PDP or Labour or whatever other party. One thing that we have in common is that, one, we are Nigerians. Secondly, we want solutions for Nigerians. Party is just a platform for us to be where we are currently. But after all the politicking, after all the campaigns and elections, governance must set in. And this is where we must show that we are different from those who have been there before. We must strive for results that will be seen by Nigerians, not just talking about it, but doing it.
All right, thank you so much, Senator-elect Ted Nwoko.